The article I did for this presentation was Pay to Play in the NCAA, a data driven playbook on how to compensate student athletes. I got it from the Sport Journal and it was written by Cameron Van. The article goes over the NCAA's new, not necessarily their push, but just the push to change the current model that compensates student athletes for their participation in their sports. And the author outlines three three models that could be used in the future. Well, two models essentially that could be used in the future to replace one of the models that was presented. The first being the current model of amateurism that has student athletes being paid just through cost of attendance and having school paid for through tuition or paying for tuition and all that. And the second model would be the Olympic model, which would let student athletes profit off their name, image, and likeness, much like current Olympic athletes are able to do, and raise them cap minimum cap of $5,000 to $10,000 as far as the amount of money a student athlete can make in a year. Um, the only issue with this is that it could be somewhat similar to the current model that we have now. And then the last model that ended up being talked about the most was the revenue sharing model, which would give student athletes a portion of the revenue that is earned by their sport and split up evenly for the most part across all the athletes on a team. And there are a lot of uh, equations that are provided to show how this money would be distributed. Uh, and then going a little further into the summary that I started, uh, again, the current model of amateurism, which goes back to 1866, that was brought up in at least brought up into uh, this article, stating that amateurism as a whole really just it holds down the people that are actually participating, as they really won't reap many financial benefits from playing their sport, just because it's more or less designed for the people that can control the sports to make most of the money, and the people that play the sports, uh, they're only going to make very minimal amounts compared to how much money they actually bring in. And as a student athlete myself, obviously, I know what this is like. And even if I'm not at a Power Five school, I know that student athletes do bring in a lot of money. Uh, Not all college sports teams are self sufficient. There's only a handful of teams that are actually self sufficient, and they don't have to worry about uh, making a budget. Well, getting to their budget and going over or anything like that. There's only a select few that have that luxury to not worry. But even then, regardless of the amount of money and how over budget a school may be, it doesn't make a ton of sense for student athletes to not get some of that, but it is what it is. Moving on to the Olympic model. The Olympic model would let student athletes profit off their name, image, and likeness, and let them do endorsements, make money from social media stuff along those lines. Especially given how there are so many ways that you can make money. Uh, that would the Olympic model would let student athletes do that without really going above and beyond and giving a ton of opportunities that would be beyond a normal student's ability to make money. Uh, and it would raise the minimum cap from 5,000 to 10,000, as I stated earlier. Uh, but the only downfall to this Olympic model is that it really just, for the most part, it favors male star athletes. Again, probably from bigger schools. Guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zion Williamson a few years ago. Those would probably be the main people to make a ton of money from the Olympic model. And then again to the revenue sharing model, which had the most had the most data, it had the most behind it as far as being a real contender, I guess you could say, for being a new model compared to the current model we have. Um, the author or writer of this article brought up a lot of equations, a lot of numbers, a lot of data, and a lot of examples on how this could be done. And it's so much so, I probably could have added a little bit of it, but there's so much of it, and it goes into so much detail, and it breaks down overall revenue is brought in, not entirely just from the university, but from the sports themselves, and then how much money could be made and spread out across all the players on the team, and it's it makes sense to me at least, and uh, there there's a lot of math, a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it seems promising, and I think that it's something that could work. Significance after many years of the NCAA winning a lot of these cases about student athlete compensation, it's kind of surreal that it's a possibility for this issue to no longer be an issue, and it's something that is going to be resolved within the next couple years. Um, as far as class relation, we spent at least one class talking about this, and for the most part, we were all in agreement that student athletes should be compensated beyond scholarship and constant attendance. And then courses of action, uh, I think it'd be key for any professional finance person to be on the same page with not only NCAA but its member institutions, and making sure that this is a new system that works best for the schools, the NCAA, and the athletes.